Hey everybody, welcome back to Tying Tuesday. We're here at AvidMax. My name is Travis Hanson with Chasing Tail Jigs. In the vise, I have a Baetis pattern for you that I like to call the Beavis and Baetis. You can tie this in purple, you can tie this in red, you can tie this in black, pretty much whatever you like. In the vise I have a size 16, but I range from size 14 all the way down to size 24 with this pattern. But for the camera's sake, I don't have any 14s on hand, so we're gonna do a 16. Positioning in the vise, I got a size 16 2488H from Umpqua. Starting off with some size 14 Veevus and 14-aught in brown. The bead I have on here is going to be a 5/64 tungsten bead from MFC. Go ahead and start your thread. Start wrapping down the hook shank towards the bend. Cut your tag off. And when you get 3 or 4 turns down the bend of the hook is where you want to put your tail on. Our tail material is going to be a Indian hen saddle feather that I already have stripped down. You can see I've already been using some of it. Gonna grab 6 to 8 fibers for a nice sparse tail. I want to pull those 90 degrees to that stem of the feather so that way all your tips stay aligned when you pull them off. I have my hook positioned in the vise a little bit angled to make the tying of the tail easier. I'm going to grab those from the very tip. Start with one pinch wrap and another loose wrap. And I want my tail to be just a tad longer than the hook shank itself, is what I find that I like for this pattern. I think about right there looks good. We're going to lift that tail up, throw in one wrap behind it just to kind of help prop it up. We're going to start working this feather back towards our bead. Just trying to keep it on top of the hook shank. Once we get to about where the point of the hook is, you can go ahead and reposition that hook. Go ahead and take your tail all the way up to your bead. All right, there is good. Go ahead and trim those off. Now we're going to add our rib, which is going to be small ultra wire in gold. This is a really great pattern to fish in the creeks, tailwaters, really anywhere that you're going to be finding Baetis. Just tie it in the color that matches what you're seeing in your area and the size that comes accordingly. You can do this with or without a hot spot. Today we are going to do a little bit of a hot spot for attractor reasons. When I'm fishing this pattern, I'm usually running it as a mid-fly or a lead fly, just to kind of depending on the flows and the time of the year. Once you get all the way back up to your bead, I'm going to put a slight taper in this fly. We're going to work back down just past the hook point and work back up towards the bead. We're actually going to whip finish this off and add our hotspot color. So once you got a nice whip finish on there, we're gonna grab this Flouro red in 12-aught from Semperfli. It's kind of more of an orange, but they call it Flouro red. Just do a couple wraps right there. Say 4 wraps, cut your tag, and then we can hit this with a little 3-turn whip finish just to hold it in place while we wrap this rib here. When I wrap my ribs with wire, I always like to do 2 touching wraps at the base before I get started with the open wraps. It's just more of a personal thing. I like the way it looks. Once we get just past that hook point, we're gonna go ahead and secure our wire and break that off. And here is where we want to go ahead and put some UV resin on our fly, just to hold that wire in place, make sure it's not falling apart on us as we're fishing. So I got some Solarez bone dry UV resin that I'm going to be adding on here for a nice slim body. Gives it a nice sheen. Looks nice, fish is nice. Go ahead and let that soak in for just a second. And go ahead and cure it. We're gonna go ahead and add our flash, which is gonna be Veevus holographic tinsel. Color code on that is gonna be H04 in size medium. I've already got some pulled off here. So we're going to go ahead and lay this directly over the top of our fly here. Go ahead and adjust it if you need to. And trim off that excess. Throw that in your material clip to get out of the way. And for the legs, I'm going to be adding some fluorofibers in black. So I've already got some pulled off here. Let's see if I can get that focused. I've just got a slight amount, just a good amount to split it down the middle and have a good amount of legs on each side. You don't need too much. Go ahead, again, same as the flash, lay that right over the top of your hook. Work down to where you want your thorax to start. And you can cut this off. For our thorax, we're going to go ahead with some Spectra dubbing on color code 29. It's going to be a nice flashy brown dub. Build yourself up a nice dubbing noodle. Might be just a smidge too much for a size 16, but we can pick some off if we need to when we get to it. Okay. Just gonna peel some of that off. Reattach that noodle there. Now we're ready to bring our legs forward. Go in with 1, 2 wraps. You're gonna go in with your bodkin. Try to split this down the middle. That looks about good. A little bit longer of a thorax wouldn't hurt on this fly. Closer to what you'll see in the thumbnail, but this will still fish. I would go down just a little bit past the barb with that thorax. Bring your flash forward, kind of splitting the wings there. You want to make sure your wings are nice and on this in the middle of each side of your hook here. And go ahead and trim this flash off. Then we'll go in, before trimming those legs down, we're gonna whip finish. 4, 3. I think that's about all we can sneak on there. Trim that off. I'm gonna go back with my Solarez bone dry and just coat that thread to make sure it's not coming undone on us. Go ahead and give that a cure. Then we're going to take some Solarez thick. And I don't have a needle nose or a fine applicator, so I just go in with a bodkin. And I'll put some on my bodkin. Just run this. You guys see that? Yes. Right over top, give it a quick cure, and that gives us a nice little shell back. The reason I don't cut those legs before I do that is to keep them out of the way of that UV resin. So now we'll go in and we will cut our legs. I go back to usually right around the second rib from the thorax. This will be a little bit easier to see on the other side. You want your legs to be just a little bit longer than the thorax. You can see this side's just a little bit longer. Go ahead and give it a little bit of a trim. Okay. Could just be a tad longer on this side. I went just a little bit too much, but that's all right. Still looks good. All right, that's the Beavis and Baetis. You can fish this in creeks, rivers, anywhere there's Baetis patterns. I hope you find that helpful, and thanks for tuning in.